All right, have and have not fans. This is the video. This is the video that people have been waiting for since the last episode on Tuesday. And honestly, it's hard. I haven't made this video until this point just because, again, about 4 months ago, I posted a video on YouTube called "Was Amanda's Death a Suicide or a Homicide?" And I had actually done several blogs after Amanda was revealed to be dead about different theories about who killed her. Was it a suicide? Yo, look at all the blood stains over the room. How did she position herself in the bed like that if it was suicide? And I went in on it. Some people were like, dude, just shut up, let it go. They already announced it as a suicide. That's it. But I'm not that kind of person to let something go until I have full closure. And my girl, Amanda, definitely wasn't killed by a suicide attempt on her own life, but by a homicide attempt. Well, not attempt, more like a homicide success because she's dead. No pun intended there. So I even wrote it in a blog as well as maybe a video. I mentioned it because, Jennifer was out for the criers. So even though that first cop called it as a homicide, and really he didn't have the credentials or the title to kind of give the official call on that, but Jennifer went in, called it as a suicide. Part of me was like, well, she is trying to get back at Jim, but at the same time, I wouldn't think that she's like conniving and evil enough to take advantage of the criers during their time of grief, even though she is trying to get justice for little Lizzie. So I still had that thought in the back of my mind of things just didn't add up. And even in the original video, a lot of people have been asking me to do a part 2, given the new information we received in the last episode. Really, the only new information we got about Amanda's death was, number one, we actually saw a full picture of the room, which was awesome. And I had the picture right there on the screen for you to see. And I'll probably pop it up during different points of the video. That was pretty much the number one thing I did want to see, like the blood, because, again, it did not make sense of how blood got all around that room. Are you telling me she, stood next to the desk or whatever, shot herself and blood went everywhere? Then all the blood and then she must have passed out on the floor, left all the blood to soak in the carpet. Then she casually climbed into the bed and positioned herself that way. No, somebody had to do that. So Jennifer went on to say that the officer that did make the homicide call was most likely correct. And if I missay the title, the MD or ED or like the paramedic or whoever came into the room next overruled it, but then recently retired, and then the new one came in, and that's when Jennifer decided to call it as a suicide, but still do like a kind of behind closed doors investigation. So the fact that one of them was a friend of the Cryer family, things ain't adding up, but it just opened a new door of possibility. So before I go any further, I have to thank all the new subscribers to my YouTube channel, as well as my Have and Have Not Facebook page, as well as those who follow me on Twitter now. I hope you enjoy the videos. Please, if you haven't done so already, go through all of them, binge watch them, because I'm not saying that just to get the views, but I go in depth. That's one thing about me. If you haven't followed my material since I've been doing the blog for like 3 years, you know that I go in depth. You will know that I go in depth on these theories. Like, I don't just sit here and make these videos to kill time. I only make these videos when I have a lot of solid evidence, because just like the Bible, this is one show I pretty much try to know inside and out. So with that being said, a lot of the material, if you haven't watched part 1, here's a link in the description below, and just go ahead and watch that before you watch this video, just because it will give you my original thoughts on why it was a homicide as well as the suspects. I'm actually going to redo that in this video, so it might be a little bit longer than the original. So bear with me, because I'm going to try to go over every possible suspect, as well as motives, why they did it, and things of that nature. So I'm going to try to cover everything to the best of my ability. Now, originally there were 4 suspects: Professor Cannon, Quincy, Celine, and Carlos. Now, I was talking with Mom about Quincy, and she kept saying, "What if Quincy came back and killed her?" I don't think that's what happened, because there's 2 key things that need to be brought up here. Two key things. Well, actually 3, but let's just, 3. Number 1, When it came to the person that killed Amanda, it had to be somebody who was outside of the house, like somebody that did live in there. Because number one, Jim Cryer got abducted by Warlock's crew prior to the shooting. Number two, Wyatt was asleep sorry, my voice just went. Wyatt was asleep, during the incident, and based off of season 3, episode 1, it seemed like he woke up right after the gun went off. I mean, honestly, I don't know if he woke up like the second the gun went off, because if he did, I think he would have saw the killer or something like that, because yeah, I don't know, maybe it did wake him up, because if the gunshot woke up Wyatt, why didn't it wake up Catherine? Maybe it's because Wyatt's room is closer to Amanda's, because apparently they seem to be right down the hallway from each other. But in any case, we know that the killer had to have, fired the gunshot and left immediately. Here's why. Because again, when Jim Cryer got kidnapped, he went he went to the front of the house because he got the text message from Candace telling him to meet him in like the front of the house or the yard or something like that. So he went out there. I don't believe he locked the door behind him. I believe he either closed it completely or left like a slight crack. Hence why when Wyatt came downstairs and he saw the door open, he saw that his dad's phone was on the ground right there at the door. Things were a little suspicious. When Jim was kind of like waiting out there looking around, and then he heard like the thugs coming at him, he tried to get back into the house, but he wasn't fast enough to completely open the door to get back in and hold it off. So I think that when he went outside to wait for Candace, he actually closed the door, but he didn't have time to fully reopen the door, go back inside and lock it before the thugs grabbed him, just because he was like a few feet away from the door, kind of like waiting right in the front driveway of the house before he got abducted. So that's what I think. Hence why when Wyatt came downstairs, there was a little crack. So I say that the killer was somebody who went through the back, not the front, because even though the front door was right there open, I think the killer was smart enough to go through the back instead of going through the front door. So that's point number one. The killer went through the back, didn't go through the front door. So when Wyatt came downstairs and saw the door slightly cracked with the phone, that was all Jim right there. That wasn't the killer. Point number 2. It has to do with the fact that, again, the fact that we never got an autopsy or anything like that of Amanda after, Jennifer called it as a suicide. That's why I never let go of this theory, just because there were so many things about Amanda that had to be learned before she got buried, such as, was she really pregnant by Professor Cannon? Was she delusional about it? Because again, Candace did say a pregnancy can't be detected that fast. I'm not a woman. I don't know that. I mean, if it's true, let me know in the comment section below, female viewers. If it isn't true, let me know that as well, so I can be like, oh, okay, maybe Candace wasn't lying. She kept saying it was a bad test. So we didn't know if she was really pregnant by Professor Cannon. Point number 2 is the death tattoo. And again, you got to really think on that. Remember, towards the end of season 2, Quincy came over to the Cryer house, picked up Amanda to get a death tattoo, to get the names of her family members on it, because she said she wanted to kill them all. We never got word on that. And she just got the tattoo like the same day they had the dinner, and then the same day she got shot. So that tattoo was pretty fresh. I mean, that never came up. And point number 3 is, if Amanda really did shoot herself, where the heck was the gun? There was no gun in sight. None of the cops mentioned it. We didn't see a gun being, put in like a bag or anything for, to be examined. We had none of that. It's possible that the killer came in there, took the gun with them, and left. Kind of debating that, because honestly, and again, I'm not a killer, not a murderer or anything like that. So I'm just thinking. Put it that way. Okay, don't judge me, because I know a lot of you people out there watch How to Make a Murder, CSI, Snapped, and all that good stuff. So I'm just thinking, right? I'm thinking out loud. If I were a killer who was trying to kill somebody who was mentally unstable like Amanda, where they've tried multiple suicide attempts on themselves. So if that person like Amanda committed suicide, it wouldn't be that big of a shocker that she committed it. the bigger question would be why. Because even Catherine's like, the first time she tried to end her own life, we caught the reason why she was acting mentally unstable, and we were able to get her on her meds and she was good. If I was trying to kill somebody like that and I went in there to shoot them, their gun would be something, I would keep in there, because again, that would make things less suspicious. Like, oh, it's her gun, it has her own fingerprints on it. Hey, that's what happened. I don't know if the killer that came in the house knew that Amanda had the gun. That's a possibility. We do know without a shadow of a doubt that the shooting happened in the room. This leads to point number 3. Remember, point number 1 has to do with the killer going through the back door. Point number 2 is there were so many unanswered questions in terms of autopsy involving, we saw no gun, nobody mentioned the death tattoo, nobody mentioned whether or not she was pregnant. And this leads to point number 3, which is the killer left Amanda's room unscathed. Like, literally, if there was a second party involved in the death of Amanda, that person had to walk out of that room without a scratch on them. Because remember, there was blood all, like Michael Jackson, blood on the dance floor. There was blood all over Amanda's room, from the floor, the wall, the curtains, the desk. And the weird part about it was, the bed too, if I'm not mistaken, it was pretty much drenched with blood. And honestly, let me go back real quick and check out a picture for you. I'm in the middle of recording this video, but I need to check this out, because my mom made a good point about the episode where Hannah found Amanda in the bed. It's about and again, Jennifer Salison did an amazing job describing. I love it whenever I make a theory and then the character in the show confirms the theory being correct by pretty much stating verbatim everything that I said. You have no idea how hype I was when when Jennifer was describing the crime scene with the blood everywhere. So I'm actually looking at one of my old blogs right now as I'm talking, trying to find that picture. And yep, there it is. So we see I had a picture right here for you, and I'm going to kind of talk about it. And you just see that things don't really add up. You see that big pool of blood, like, drenched on the side of her mattress there, the sheets, but there's like no trail from, because she blasted her. If she really blasted her brains out, it doesn't make sense for blood to be splattered all. Are you telling me like she was doing her ballerina dances and just shot herself one time and blood splattered everywhere, all the way in the floor? Then she climbed in bed, because her body looks amazing. Her body, to be in that position, it looks like somebody set her there. Like, they position her like that, to cover her head with the hair, and then had the blood all over the room like that. It doesn't add up, people. It doesn't add up. So the killer, at one point I even said that, heck, the killer might have been somebody who was in the darn room with Amanda. Like, I even said that Professor Cannon could have been in the room, because in the episode where she was running around with the gun, like, in her room, like, the closet door was open, as well as I believe the bathroom in her room, like, the door was closed. I was thinking, okay, maybe Amanda killed Professor Cannon. Like, maybe Professor Cannon was hiding out in the room to get his revenge, because remember that Amanda was stalking him all throughout season 2, and even came to the point where she stabbed him in the park while he was jogging. And he knew at that point, okay, this bitch is crazy. I got to end her life. But that goes into my suspect list in terms of the only reason Professor Cannon would have been in that room or came into the house to kill Amanda would be if he would have known that Amanda moved back in with her dad. Because remember that Jim showed up, took all the stuff out of there, Amanda's stuff and Candace's stuff, after she had been abducted by the Malones, and took it back to his house. So unless Professor Cannon went by the apartment and talked to the manager or whatever, then he wouldn't have known. But for him to go right into the lion's den like that, I don't know. Because again, it would be poetic justice on his part if he went into her house, well, her parents' house, into her room to kill her. Because remember, at one point during season 2, this crazy chick went up to his house at night, staring at Professor Cannon, and had a darn barrel of a gun down his throat while his wife and child were in the bed sleeping. Again, that would have been a good way to turn things around, but let me say this point. If Amanda's murder really was a homicide, the person that did it, I think they're alive right now. Because again, this goes back to my list of suspects. Quincy being a very unlikely suspect because, yeah, he did leave the house in a rage because, after getting confirmation like, hey, your dad was banging my chick. And that's when he got out of there. But yeah, he could have came back to the house to pick up Amanda because Amanda's like, where are you going? I got to go. But I don't think he would come back because episode 1 of season 3, we find out that he's in Veronica's house eating. And that's when he tried to rape her until she threatened to kill his entire family. So I don't think it was Quincy. I honestly don't think it was Quincy. Plus, he's dead right now. Then we get to Professor Cannon, as I was just talking about the reasons why he would potentially want to one-on-one kill Amanda, because he even told Candace, like, hey, if you don't get this girl to stop following me, I will hurt her. Which was kind of like I wouldn't say it was an empty threat, but more like, yo, Candace, get your friend under control before I got to do it for myself. And then we get to the point where, man, he got killed. Because remember that, Jim had him killed after finding out what he did to his daughter. I mean, gosh. Wow, we're already 16 minutes in. But again, I am going in on this video. Best believe it. So I hope you all have like a drink or popcorn or something, because I want to make this as thorough as possible. So when we finally do get the truth, you can look back and like, yo, remember that like 50-minute video that guy Jeremy did? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be 50 minutes, but yeah, I just want to make sure. Let's see. Sorry about this. Matter of fact, I need to take a sip of water real quick if you don't mind. Just 1 second. Okay, thank you. Anyway, now, I really think that the murder of Amanda has to be alive, just because, again, if the person that murdered Amanda was killed off, it wouldn't really be that good in terms of the story. Let's say that Professor Cannon did kill Amanda. Let's just say Professor Cannon did kill Amanda. Okay, they find out it's Professor Cannon. Jim's like, okay, I killed that son of a bitch. It's over. We got my revenge. Well, I got my revenge. Like, I killed him because he raped my daughter. But man, if only I had known that he murdered my daughter, I would have done it with my own 2 hands. See what I mean there? It really wouldn't have the same weight of finding out who the killer was if they're already dead, If I were to put my money, if you held a gun to my head, no pun intended on Amanda, and told me, yo, you gotta tell me right now, who do you think killed Amanda? If you're right, you walk free. If you're wrong, I'm going to shoot you in the head. If I were to put my life on the line like that for a theory, I would say the killer would be Celine or Carlos. I mean, the person with the gun in my head, I'll be like, yo, hear me out. I would say that my money would be Celine or Carlos. You could argue Veronica. I mean, the fact that she is so evil right now, if it was Veronica, it would not surprise me. I think it's unlikely. I would think it's unlikely because look what she did to Wyatt. I mean, you put a person in there to have him sexually abused in jail, and that led to him getting the money, and then he quote unquote died, but he didn't. At that point in the season, into season 2, Amanda really didn't do anything to Veronica, and plus Quincy beat Jim's ass in front of her, so she was happy about that. I don't think Veronica did it. No, I don't think it was Veronica. So going back to Celine and Carlos, it goes back to the fact that at the ending of the episode before the season finale, season 2, basically when Carlos goes over to Jim's house to deliver some paperwork from the campaign office, that's when he goes in there. And then Celine shows up. Yo, what are you doing here? And then they have the big reveal to the audience. I'm your son. And he's like, what? Because the last time Jim pretty much had physical contact with him holding him was as a baby. And Celine pretty much broke down like, hey, we don't want your money. We don't want the vacations or whatever. We just want your time. our son just wants to get to know you. He wants you to be a father. Jim wasn't buying that. He pretty much goes on a rant just like he did with Hannah when she came to the jail to visit him to tell him, yo, your son is dead. He just literally showed his ass right there. And Celine broke down like, okay, you don't want to have anything to do with us, so fine. And that's when Jim's like, you're fired. But he's like, I'm done. Just forget it. I'm done. Leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you. It's a shame. Because again, in that moment, it's like that scene reminded me of Jeffrey in season 1. Like, you know, I didn't despise Jeffrey because he was a homosexual. I thought it was sickening what he was doing. Like, he was purposely ruining Wyatt's chances at getting well in terms of his relationship with Laura. As Celine pointed out, that's when Wyatt was at his best. He wasn't on drugs. He wasn't drinking because she helped to bring out the best in him. But then Jeffrey, you know, had this secret love for him. So that's why he went behind his back to lie about Laura and whatnot and mess up that potential relationship. And then, you know, he'd just do these creepy things like stalk him, look at him while he's asleep, climb in bed with him. But then at the end of season 1, he breaks down to his parents to tell him he was gay. And then Veronica's pretty much like, yeah, you're better off dead. Like, I really wish you weren't the child to make it. And then you get to season 2, and you really start to like the character because he is a likable guy. You feel sorry for him. The same way about Celine. It's like, you hated her. You liked her in season 1, but then she showed, like, okay, God's going to show who your true friends are when you start to get blessed. Hence why, you know, Hannah was being blessed with, like, higher up position in terms of the management of the Cryer estate as being like the head employee over everybody else. Or, you know, when she goes on vacations with Catherine, which are really trips to the hospital. And then you start to see Celine's bad side after Hannah cleans Jim's shoes. Then you find out why, because she's overprotective of Jim due to their children. And you really don't like her. And then, you know, after the whole Benny in the hospital thing where Celine's not, you know, giving the calls Hannah makes to Catherine, or when they have that cat fight, you really hate her. But then in that one moment, you feel bad for the character because she's looking for, hey, we just want your time and attention. Be a father to your children. And that's when Jim shuts her down. Who's to say that wasn't what made Celine snap and decide, you know what, if you don't want to take care of our children, I'm going to get rid of your children by Catherine. Because she knew that Amanda was the apple of his eye. And even Wyatt's like, you used to be so kind and, you know, gentle when we were kids. What happened to you? He was like, I don't have time for you. I have a young son at home that I have to take care of myself, so I don't have time to deal with you two grown children. So that was when Quincy came to get Amanda, and everybody's like looking at Celine like, yo, why didn't you try to stop her or anything? It's like, yo, she's a grown woman. She can make her own decisions, blah, 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 blah. So at that point, you know that she's like doesn't give a crap about the Cryer kids. So because Jim doesn't care about their children, she doesn't care about his and Catherine's children. So it wouldn't surprise me if Celine, because again, I did theorize that the killer had to be somebody that came through the back door or the servant / maid door, which leads to the kitchen, which leads to the back stairway. And based off the structure of the house, and again, when I was doing them blogs, like I had to rewatch these scenes a dozen, if not more times, and fast forward in slow motion to get the pictures to determine the landscape of the house itself. So I've determined that. Sorry, Nat just flew in my. I hate when these happen. Hate this time. Hang on a second. Okay, we're good. I had to determine that Amanda and Wyatt's room are pretty much almost right next to each other down the same hallway, and then you make a turn, and that's where Jim and Catherine's room is. It would make sense for the killer to go up those back stairs to the room to kill Amanda. But here's the thing. Amanda was running around all over the house. And if you look close, and I'm going to try to put these pictures up there, it might be a little blurry, but Tyler Perry definitely used some effective misdirection here, because I am telling you, I've watched this scene at least 20 times when YouTube put the clip on there with Amanda running around with the gun. I had to watch this thing so many times because you would see her playing the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo game. Like she would go from her room, she started in her room, excuse me, then went between her parents and Wyatt's room, playing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. I think her real breakdown happened when Jim wasn't there because remember, he was Mo? Mo? Was it Mo? Yeah, because Meanie was Catherine. I'm sorry, like, this was a while ago. So, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Sorry, I gotta pull up my whole blog. I'm sorry, I'm literally making this video up as I go. I do have notes written down here, but I didn't think I would actually talk about the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo game in this video. So, this is pretty much off the cuff here. So just pulling up the blog here to go over the details. Just bear with me again, please, pretty please. Alrighty. So when it came to the game, and again, I pretty much broke it down. Like, if Amanda were to play the game from start to finish, the song, the person that dies would be this. Okay, so just to break it down, remember, it's Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, so there's 4. When it came down to who was who, you have Wyatt being Eeny, you have Catherine being Meeny, Miny was Amanda. I even put like a dash saying it could be the unborn child. I don't know. And Mo was Jim. Now, if you go by the original tune, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let me go. Or let him go, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Now, Amanda's song was Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If you shoot him, he will go, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. So again, if you look at the syllable count as well as who was what character, Mo at the very end of the song would be Wyatt. But the game itself got sidetracked because Jim wasn't there. So again, I'm not a schizophrenic or crazy person. So in Amanda's mind, okay, Mo isn't here. What do I do? So that's why she was most likely running between rooms so fast. And again, this comes down to the effective misdirection. Like, it would show Amanda running out of each person's room, and it made sense the order she was going. But then at one point, you would see her climbing in bed with Catherine in terms of having a gun pointed at her head, and then go out the room. But the room she came out of was Wyatt's room, and vice versa. When you would see her over Wyatt but run out the room, it was Catherine's room. So again, things were mixed up there. Tyler Perry did that on purpose. So whenever the gunshot was fired, it was at a point where Amanda was in her own room, because remember, if the shooter had killed Amanda in the hallway, blood would have been everywhere. There wouldn't have been blood just in her room. Because again, when Hannah went upstairs, when Catherine was walking around in that morning, and when Wyatt was looking around the house, and then he got drunk after reading the texts about Celine and Candace, and he passed out on the couch. It had to happen in her room, no doubt. It had to happen in her room, hence why there was blood all there. So if there was a person that went in there to kill her, that person had to leave that room. They must have been wearing some kind of gloves or something, because there was no blood traced in the carpet on the hallways. There was nothing in the kitchen stairs. So I think the killer went up through the back, took the back stairway, perhaps encountered Amanda. Maybe they were sneaking around the top floor, second floor of the house, and then saw that Amanda's room was open, went in there, and that's when the killing happened. Because again, we did hear one gunshot. There could have been more than one, but since we only heard one, we can only assume that there was one. So if there, again, that goes back to my theory of somebody waiting out in her room, but I'm not saying that isn't a possibility. But if that person was kind of stalking in her room, then they must have encountered her when she went back into the room after the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo game was gone. Maybe she got to the point where, okay, that's it, I'm off of myself. Like, there's nobody, there's no Mo, the game's over, boom. Because even I said that Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, where it was Wyatt, Catherine, Amanda, and Jim. If I'm not mistaken, was there one point in season 2 where she pointed the gun at her stomach? I don't know. I know she pointed at her head, so that's why I said that when I say Miney, that was Amanda, but also could have been the unborn child, where when she thought she was pregnant, that's why she just shot herself. As like, hey, I'm going to off my child or whatever. I don't. That could be the reason, but hey, I don't know. This is a crazy person we're talking about here, so I can't really think like she thinks. I can only kind of guess how she's thinking based off what I know from the series. So, again, if I were a betting man, I would say it would either be Celine or Carlos. I don't think it was Carlos because, again, he pretty much just got mad and just left. Like, he was done. He's like, hey, I'll be waiting for you. I'm ready whenever when you're ready to be a father. That's it. I'm done. Because when he walked into the house, Wyatt was the one to answer the door, so they kind of had like a brief encounter, and that's why he was like, yo, I just saw your son outside. So that he knew that, because even Wyatt was like, hey, I saw your son. Is he the one who's about my age too? I think that the person who went into the house knew what they were doing. I really think they knew what they were doing. They knew who they were targeting in terms of the killer. Who the victim would be. Because if it was Celine, they would kill off the child. Because it's like, oh, you don't want to have anything to do with our kids? Then I want to take out the kid that you care for the most, being Amanda, because everybody knew that Jim's heart was Amanda. And then another clue was after Hannah found out that Amanda was dead and she was coming down the stairs, we heard Celine on a phone call with somebody, and we can pretty much know it was Carlos because the conversation was going like, hey, I know what I'm doing, because he probably asked, hey, what are you doing back at the house? Because let's just say Celine was the killer and Carlos wasn't. Let's say that Carlos was like, wait, how can you go back to work after how he treated us? Like how he's never coming back and whatnot. Because Celine was skeptical or pretty much blindly devoted to Jim the way that David is to Veronica in terms of, oh, he's coming back one day. No, he's not. He doesn't care about us. It's like, how come he didn't tell you about the campaign? How come he didn't tell you he was going to be on TV? Hence why Carlos was the one to initiate the interview with the reporter and then was the one to get on TV with Celine, who said nothing, because Carlos was the one to initiate the whole, oh, we're going to expose this man for who he really is. I don't think that Carlos was the killer. I think Celine, it could be either or. Like, one of them killed Amanda and the other one knew about it. Or Carlos could have been like, dang, Ma, I didn't know you would go to this extent. Because, again, Jim, if you add up all the money, Jim, I believe it was around, and again, I could be wrong on the number, but maybe around $250,000, $500,000 per year in terms of child support. And Celine's living the way she's living in that side of town. Where's all that money? Because she even told Wyatt that my son worked his way through college. He had all these jobs to go through school. Where's all the child support money? Where's the alimony? Where's the child support money, Celine? There's something ain't adding up about that. I think Celine, if I would say that I'm probably about 75% sure that it's Celine, while 25% Carlos in terms of who killed Amanda. Because remember, they always say the criminal returns to the scene of a crime. And it goes even further in terms of Celine's behavior when the police have everybody kind of quote unquote quarantine to the house, like, hey, nobody can leave the house until the DA arrives and we pretty much, wrap this case up. So that's when Celine was showing her ass just going off for no reason, because she was trying to comfort Jim, but at the same time, it just didn't add. Like, why was she the only adamant one about getting out of the house? Like, okay, we knew she was all crazy. She tried to take her life before. She's dead. She's gone. Leave her alone. That right there just shows you something ain't right about that. Something ain't right. I mean, maybe she was having like a Jeffrey breakdown, after he stabbed his mom. I reached a breaking point. I did what I had to do, but then he started to break down about it. Maybe that was Celine. She had an emotional like anger, and she was enraged after how Jim treated her and Carlos. It's like, fine, I want to take out the one person you love above everybody else. So when she shot Amanda in the room, there must have been some kind of struggle based off the blood, and then she was placed on the bed harmlessly and then left. And then the next morning it's like, okay, yeah, Carlos, don't worry, I'm fine. And that's when she has to break down. True, she was surprised when she walked into the room to see Amanda's dead body. But, hey, Veronica proved to Davis like, oh, so you were going to let me die in that burning house? And I would have been the grieving widow. I mean, I don't know. But again, though Celine and Carlos are at the top of my list in terms of who killed Amanda, if it really wasn't a suicide. So this video has run about 35 minutes. And as far as I can tell, I believe I've covered every suspect that makes sense. So my main point is the person had to go through the back door. Who has a key to the back door other than Celine, Hannah, or any other employee that works at the house? The killer had to have a motive because, again, why not kill Wyatt or Catherine? Why only kill Amanda? It had to be, as Jennifer pointed out, you know, when David asked, who would want to hurt Wyatt? Okay, well, who would want to hurt Amanda? The killer had to be somebody that had a motive behind killing Amanda personally, as well as my theory as the killer has to be alive because, again, if the killer has already been killed off, no pun intended, it really, to me, it really wouldn't do much for the overall story of the show. Oh, we finally found out who killed Amanda. Oh, but they're already dead. Well, they got what they deserve. Case closed. I don't think it's going to go down like that. Because I think the fact that Veronica putting toxic in Wyatt's cell in jail, causing to his coma-induced OD or drugs, and then Celine being the one to shoot Amanda, I think that makes sense due to the fact that these are two women who were scorned in one way or another because, again, David, Jeff, basically the Halves, the Harringtons and the Criers, did everything they could to cover up Wyatt's hit and run incident with little Lizzie. And then, okay, this guy wants to blow it all by confessing. Oh, hell to the no. I'm getting rid of him. Or I'm going to show him when I made up because even Veronica's like, always get my debts repaid. Meaning that, you know, oh, you're going to show your ass to me? Well, I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. Hence why she put her foot down and had him molested in jail. And then Celine was like, oh, you don't want to take care of our kids? Fine, I'll get rid of the one kid you adore above anybody else. Bow, kills Amanda. So, with that being said, again, I believe I covered it. I'm going over the weekend. I want to be talking with Mom, obviously. If we come up with any kind of clues or anything, like this video is almost 40 minutes long. I might have missed something. If I do, or if my mom gives me a new idea, I will be making another video, like a part 3. But as far as I know, my brain is fully exhausted. So what do you think? Was Amanda's death really a suicide or homicide? If it was a suicide, I will shut my mouth and never bring the subject up again. If it was indeed a homicide, because again, if Jennifer reopened the case, you know something's going down. If you think it was a homicide, who do you think killed Amanda and why did they do it? So again, please subscribe, share this video, rewatch it again because, again, even though it's long, you might want to show it to your friends like, girl, there's this guy on YouTube that made this theory about Amanda. And to all the has and have not cast and crew members, thank you again for being so kind to retweet, share my videos, and comment because, again, I know you're all busy. So if you actually sit down to watch this extended video, I truly do appreciate it. Jacqueline Beacom, I miss you of all my heart. I know you're married to the guy who voiced Hey Arnold, so I'm excited about the Jungle movie. I wish you two the best, as well as all of your have and have not endeavors. I really do miss you on the show. I don't care what anybody else say. I miss me some Amanda right there. That was my first crush ever since episode 1. So, crush on the show. So again, if you take the time to watch the video, I hope you enjoy it. Take this as my gift to you because I miss you so much. I made this long video for you, Jacqueline. So if nobody else comments or enjoys, I hope you like it. Tyler Perry, if you're watching this, hit me up in the DM. Let me know if I wanted something. You can tell me. I promise I won't tell anybody because I'll shut up after this. So please subscribe, comment, enjoy, and I will see you all in the next video.